rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host. So apparently none of my wonderful things are probably going to work. I don't know. We'll have to see. None of my automations worked. I tried to do something yesterday, and so, yeah. Anyway, we'll have to see. This will be interesting, to say the least. All right, let's go ahead and, it's Bam is saying, oh, I love that background. Well, guess what? It is November. And so November, December, January, maybe even into February, I'll have my winter background scenes up. So this is one of 6 winter cabins that I have. So that's awesome. U.S. Abby Girl is saying she did early vote in person this morning. Awesome. So there we go. Yep. There we go. Congratulations. Unfortunately, I checked my ballot earlier this morning, and although they've accepted it, apparently they are going through signature verification yet. So, and my state is running right around about 40% that's come in so far. So we'll just have to see what's going on there. Okay, hold on. What is happening here? No. Tommy is saying that Facebook is having some challenges. All right. That's not good. That's not good at all. I don't see anything on my end, though, unfortunately. Yeah, we got some dropped frames. Why are we getting dropped frames? That's not good. That's not good at all. I'm gonna have to pay attention to that. It's like I said, technical issues all over the place. It just seems like things are not running quite well here in the studio. I'm going to have to figure out why. All right, let's go ahead and kick things off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance is going to be led by Definitely Not Karen from over on Rumble. So please, if you are of mind, please stand. Remove your hats if you're wearing one. If not, please place your hand over your heart and follow along with Definitely Not Karen in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And, of course, I thank you, Definitely Not Karen, for bringing that in, sending that in, I should say. If you want your Pledge of Allegiance, your version of the Pledge of Allegiance played here on the program, it's really very easy. All you have to do is record yourself performing it, and once you are done, then take that and attach it to take that audio file, attach it to an email, put in the to section to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. All right. Let's go over to, tonight's promo. All right, what is going on here? What the hell is going on here? What the hell is going on here? We've got problems out the yin-yang. What is this? Did this drop? No, it doesn't look like it. No, okay, so the audio portion of the program did not drop. Ay, 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 ay. Let's take a look at this again. Because... yeah, I'm back live. Well, I'm back live according to this. Am I back? Boy, it is just really, really bad over on Facebook. And it looks like... okay, well, okay. So, I don't know what's going on here, but, yeah, the streaming platform, something bumped in between me and the place that was sending, so I apologize to all of that. I don't know what's going on there, but, it looks like things have come back now, somewhat, I believe. All right, hopefully that's the only bump in the process here. All right, so as I was saying, sponsor shirt, theflagshirt.com. That's theflagshirt.com. Right now they have their Veterans Day sale running. It's 10% off site-wide with the code veteran10. That's veteran, VETERAN 10 as in 10. Veteran 10 as you check out. Send that veteran 10 VET. Okay, this is not looking good. I don't understand what is happening here with this thing. Rumblers, am I sticking on Rumble or is this just a Facebook thing? And let me see if it's doing the same over here. It looks like it might be. Nope. Looks like YouTube is also apparently having some issues, maybe. This is not good. I don't know what's happening here with the live stream. I hate it when this happens. Hate it when this happens. So Rumble seems to be okay. YouTube seems to be somewhat okay. But Facebook is having some serious issues. That's just completely weird and odd as to why Facebook would be having this many problems. Just don't understand it. Anyway. Yeah, I don't understand. I don't get it. It's not... I see that there's an issue, but I'm just not quite sure where the issue is occurring. Anyway... all right, so theflagshirt.com, head on over there, take a look at their products, and don't forget to put in code VETERAN, VETERAN 10, VETERAN10, at checkout to get yourself 10% off your order site-wide. Also, too, don't forget, if you order $75 or more of their product, they'll give you free shipping. Yeah, so... head on over to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right, that's out of the way. Now, let's see. Okay, so that worked. God, so many things. So many things that are bouncing all over the place. Anyway, all right. So, Joe Rogan, of course, offered... to have Vance, or Vance asked something, I don't know. Anyway, they kind of went back and forth about it, and Vance went on to Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan Experience. He was there for reportedly about 4 hours. Now, I don't know if they put all of that into the program or not, but I can tell you that it was a rounding success. So one of the things that's amazing about going on a program like Joe Rogan's, number one, is just the fact that just the amount of exposure that you get by being on that program. I mean, he is the number one podcaster in all of podcasting. And it's just amazing to me as far as that goes. But the thing about it is, though, is that Joe Rogan is not your typical interviewer. I mean, a lot of people who are trying to interview within 15, trying to compress it, get it in within 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is, they essentially have, serious questions. It's boom, boom, boom. Because of Joe Rogan's format, he's able to have people there for a lot longer, and also is able to get into more about the individuals that are involved. Meaning the people that are involved, and really dig into the individuals and what they think. And so I think this was incredible, an incredible experience for JD Vance, because again, keep in mind, JD Vance, number one, he's a VP. So not very many people are actually interested in the VP. Very necessarily. Most of the time, they're planning on voting for the top of the ticket, which in this case is Donald Trump. However, he also, while he did have his book, Hillbilly Elegy, even though he did have his book, Hillbilly Elegy, he essentially is sort of an unknown outside of the Rust Belt states and outside of Ohio. So getting exposure on a show like this, it does so much for a person's career. And in this particular case, Vance's career is what the frick? Oh my gosh. Wow. Everything's just having all kinds of weird things. That is so odd. That's within the oh my gosh, that's within the program itself. Woo! Something's not right. Anyway. Wow. Flickering. So anyway, one of the things is that going on the Joe Rogan program and giving him time and an opportunity to sort of demonstrate who Vance actually is just one of those things that is amazing to be able to do. And so him getting, automatic exposure of like 3 million hits was what it was for the Vance interview. Obviously way off from the 42 or whatever it was for Donald Trump, but realistically, it's just incredible the amount of exposure that he got. And so now what you end up with is things like what happened on Joe Rogan exposing more of kind of who JD is. Now, glad that worked. So this in PJ Media, talking about the PR fallout. Well, it's not a fallout, actually. It's a guarantee. It's a thumbs up. It's cool. It's awesome. For JD. So here in the piece in PJ Media that they start off with, in the first 5 minutes, there were at least half a dozen profanities as host Joe Rogan and Senator J.D. Vance recounted cute, adorable stories of young kids swearing, cussing, and dropping H-bombs. Yeah. So, and then it continues, this ain't your daddy's Republican Party. Well, so here's the thing, is that there were several key points within this interview, and I'll get to those in just a moment. But Vance demonstrated, first of all, that he is intelligent, that he demonstrated that he is very capable, when it comes to redirecting and having a opportunity to communicate compassionately and thoughtfully, and also, not to mention the fact, but his depth of knowledge that allows him to actually pivot from point to point. And it makes him a very relatable individual too. Now, usually smart people, I say usually, but smart people oftentimes have challenges with relating to other people. Many times they get so far, into the specifics that they have a difficulty relating to individuals, especially, regular average individuals, day-to-day individuals. It's common. It really is. It's very, very common. But what ended up here is the fact that he was able to, be relatable on a very popular podcast, a very popular show. And so this is incredible as far as that goes. Now, one of the things that did happen, which again, this was one of the criticisms of him being the pick, is that realistically, it didn't really change the Electoral College outcome that much. It maybe helped a little bit in Pennsylvania, although, someone could argue, although it's kind of hard to argue a counterfactual, one could argue that Josh Shapiro would have been a better pick for the other side because of Pennsylvania. But the reality of it is that, realistically, J.D. Vance has a long time possibility. He's only 39. He's got a long time in the Republican Party. So what we're looking at least in my view, unless something happens, and I really honestly don't see him, making a huge mistake, even if he is in office, but he has the opportunity here to become the next president in 2028. And so being able to have skills, political savvy, and skills like what he's got is going to benefit him in the long run, in the much long run. Now, granted, people have argued that Tim Scott or Marco Rubio could have attracted, certain demographics, made things much better that way. Also, too, you could have had Glenn Youngkin as well, which might have enhanced Trump's opportunities in blue states. But the fact of the matter is that he essentially came in with the idea that he didn't hurt the candidate. And it's turned out that he is actually helping the candidate. Now, one of the things that the article does point out is the fact that the left and the Democrats, have been trying to go after him for quite some time. But the fact of the matter is that he's proven that he is a genuine American who genuinely understands America. And that's what makes him so relatable. Think about this. The left tried with the whole idea of him being a weirdo. Walls, lying, stolen valor, coward, tampon Tim, is still attempting to label him a weirdo. They had this whole sexual relations with couches thing running around. Okay. And then, of course, his comments about childless cat ladies were having challenges too. So, yeah, it just, just like with Trump, it opened up a door into the reality of the reality of these candidates and open them up to be more personable, which is what Kamala Harris has been fighting with, which is what Tim Walz was supposed to bring to the Kamala Harris campaign. Because of the fact that Tim Walz was supposed to be, you know, relatable. He was that Midwestern, kind of rural, folksy speaking kind of guy, when it turns out that after people started really digging into him, he was a liar. He was a stolen valor coward. He, you know, he had all kinds of scandals during his tenure being the governor. You know, all of his programs that I won't say all, but many of the programs that he was attempting to put into play have some challenges with them, especially the one that he continually touts, which is the Feed the Children program thing that he did. And so, yeah, it just, again, having the opportunity like this, you know, Kamala Harris should have jumped on it. Of course, she can't handle a 3 or 4 hour interview. She can't handle sitting there and being, can't handle sitting there and being off script for that long, because she demonstrates how moronic she is, how stupid she actually is. So anyway, some of the key takeaways, according to the Epoch Times, from Vance's 3-hour interview, the first things first was how Trump chose him. So near the start of the interview, Vance discussed how he was selected to be Trump's running mate and how it has changed his and his family's lives. He said he didn't learn that Trump actually picked him until July 15th, the first day of the RNC. That day, he said that he missed Trump's first effort to call him because he was playing with his kids. You know, he's a real family man. And he is. A few minutes later, he realized that he had missed the call and called Trump back, and Trump joked with him. Apparently, JD, you've missed a very important phone call. I'm going to have to pick someone else. And then Trump goes, no, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I want you to be my vice president. So, yeah, there you go. So Vance said that the call wasn't a total surprise. By that point, he believed he had about a 60% chance of being picked for the job, which is kind of cool. Now, Vance did talk about how he is skeptical of money in politics. So he described how the Republican Party is changing under Trump, particularly in relation to its attitude toward corporations and money in politics. Now, I've been telling you guys this for a while, but I personally think that corporations have no business necessarily putting money into politics. At least they should not be allowed the wide open possibility of just sending in money as much as they want. They need to have restrictions on it. But that being the case, Vance and Rogan did discuss a variety of controversial social issues: transgenderism, environmentalism, big tech, pharmaceutical industry. And Vance, of course, pointed out that all of that is influenced by money. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. So at one time, Vance claimed that the Republicans were openly the party of corporations. But since Trump's entry into the party in 2016, Vance said that Republicans are now more willing to ask, is this corporation's interest in the Americans' people's interest? Well, that is what we need in all of our representatives. He also talked about evaluating other social movements. People need to apply more scrutiny to their particular potential hidden motives. He mentioned about transgender drugs and operations that are profitable to the pharmaceutical industries, as were the COVID-19 shots, particularly because pharmaceutical companies were given a broad immunity from liability for adverse reactions. And Vance said, quote, we should just ask ourselves, who's getting rich from this stuff? Maybe we should be skeptical of people getting rich from this stuff. He goes, the whole conduit of money into politics is fundamentally broken. We have to fix that. So, last week, apparently, there were some reports citing anonymous sources that suggested that hackers linked to the CCP, that is the Chinese Communist Party, may have targeted Trump and Vance. Well, Iran has done the same thing. So, the FBI and CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, could only confirm the hacker's origin and not the victims. Well, the senator confirmed on Thursday that his and Trump's cell phones had likely been compromised. The exchange followed a question from Rogan about the United States' vulnerability to cyber attacks. And that's when Vance had said, we do have a real problem. My phone was allegedly hacked by Chinese hackers. Vance wasn't sure if any of that, when he was asked, he wasn't sure if any of that was exposed, anything critical was exposed on his phone. But anyway, they had learned about the two phones being hacked due to the telecommunications infrastructure that was implemented following the Patriot Act. So Vance said, quote, what I've been told is that that infrastructure was used by this Chinese hacker organization called Salt Typhoon, and that's how they got into the Verizon network, and that's how they got into the AT&T network. Vance's claims could not be independently verified by the Epoch Times either, but hey, whatever. So the two of them moved on and discussed abortion as another point involved. And Vance also said that he and Trump want to make it a state issue. Well, that's constitutionally correct, as you have learned and heard on this program. Rogan said that he worries some states with strict bans could put women in a very vulnerable position if they seek care across state lines and face potential legal consequences when they return home. Vance said that he's not aware of laws that could do that, but nonetheless disagrees with arresting women seeking abortions. Vance said, I think I'm trying to be fair to both sides here and balance the interest in life against the interest in autonomy, adding that pro-life people generally need to be pro-family beyond just being pro-birth. Anyway, so apparently the Rogan experience was a clear experience for J.D. Vance. And like I've said on this program before, the more that I hear from J.D. and more that I hear about J.D., the more I'm happy about the pick. And speaking of being happy, going into this weekend, considering that we're down to what? Let's see. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then, oh my gosh, Tuesday's election day, folks. I'm pretty happy with where we're sitting right now. Are you? Are you happy with where we're sitting? Not now, don't go and jump down my throat. No, this doesn't mean that we're going to win. I'm not talking about win. I'm not talking about red wave talks. I'm just saying, are we happy with where we're at? Are we comfortable with where things are? Comfortable enough to say that, hey, we need to make sure that we get people out to vote, execute. But are we happy with where we are? Now, a couple of things that we need to pay attention to as we head into the election cycle. First of all, keep in mind, Florida tabulates, okay? Florida tabulates their votes as they come in, and so keep in mind that they will have results starting as soon as the polls close. So they're going to start kicking out their stuff too, and we've got to take a deep breath and relax when it comes to potentially that you'll see early reports of Florida having like a large Democrat lead. So don't take that into account, okay? Just ignore that. Same thing with a couple of other places. You know, right now, as far as Nevada is concerned, Nevada is the only state that is currently reporting any kind of information at the moment. And it looks like, or at least it appears, that Nevada is the state where the left are starting to panic a little bit. So they're starting to panic a little bit based on those Nevada results that are coming out. They're also panicking too, and you can tell that the Democrats are panicking because one of the things that is clearly the case in Democrats is the fact that they never take the blame. They never take responsibility. They never take accountability. Well, you can tell that they're freaking out and they're scared. And the reason why they're scared is because of the fact that they are already assigning blame for possible Kamala Harris loss here in red state. That is the headline. So there's reportedly inner turmoil among the Democrats already brewing on the horizon, and inevitably, understanding, of course, that everybody's calling it a close race. Democrats are already looking to assign blame in the event that Kamala Harris fails to defeat her opponent, former President Donald Trump, even though it is not yet clear who's going to win the White House next Tuesday. All right. They appear to be panicking. Fingers are being pointed already at places like the Harris campaign when it comes to disappointment over her messaging, particularly on the economy. I've got something on that here in just a few minutes. Also, too, some Democrats are looking to pin the blame on Joe Biden because they think he took too long to step aside. Yeah, one Democrat strategist said of the sniping, people are nervous and they're trying to cover their ass and get a little ahead of Election Day. It's based on anxiety, stakes, and the unique nature of this cycle. We didn't have a traditional process for this election. We didn't have a primary. People just had to fall in line. Well, no shit. That's exactly why you guys are not the party of democracy, no matter how many times you say it. You're not. But anyway, he continues on. People just had to fall in line. It's not surprising to me that some of the blame game is happening even before Election Day. And if Harris loses, there's going to be a mad dash to assign that blame. Others have suggested that the vice president's decision to choose Minnesota Governor Tampon Tim, Stolen Valor, Liar, Coward Walz as her running mate may have been a mistake. Harris is going to look really silly for not picking Shapiro, a former Obama White House aide, told The Hill. Yeah. A donor said that despite Walz being a, quote, great guy who people might want to have a beer with, he wasn't a great choice. And of course, Biden's recent remarks referring to Trump supporters as garbage isn't helping manage matters either, they're saying. So it's also important to note that Harris herself may have alienated far left progressives by pretending to move to the center with many of her policy proposals. She didn't move to the center, folks. She didn't. She didn't move to the center at all. All right. That's a bullshit lie. Complete lie. She's a leftist, hardcore leftist, the hardest, corest leftist that we've ever had in contention for the White House. Period. Her questionable decision also to tour with former Representative Liz Cheney is also turning off many on the left. Given that despite her deep burning hatred of Trump, she remains an establishment neocon. Now, there's something about Trump talking about Liz Cheney that's been running around, I want to take a second to comment on. That is essentially that the left is talking about how Trump, in talking with, I think he was talking to Tucker Carlson, and he made a comment about how she is a warmonger and a war hawk and how she should go to the front lines, and I'm paraphrasing here, but go to the front lines and, you know, pick up a weapon, kind of the few good men line, pick up a weapon and stand a post. And when he was talking about it, what he said is that she should have her face targeted by 9 rifles. Well, that, the left, you know, again, these people, their reading comprehension and listening comprehension skills are literally non-existent. I've just decided that for certain. That's part of the reason why I call them morons. But she, you know, Trump said that, and they immediately glommed onto it and said, oh, that was a death threat. In fact, she herself posted on X, or at least her account did, posted on X where she's like, oh, that was a threat to me. That, you know, he should go to jail just for that. Oh, really? He should. So what about when Kathy Griffith held up that bloody severed head? How about that? Yeah, I don't think so, Scooter. But anyway, so there's just so much stuff that is wrong with her. She was just a bad candidate, no different than Hillary Clinton in 2016. She was just a bad candidate. And she's a moron. She's stupid. She can't handle this kind of thing. Hell, even Bernie Sanders said that I don't think she's abandoning her ideals, meaning she's not leaving the left. He did say, I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election. In other words, Bernie is saying she is clearly not leaving her leftism behind, but she is lying about it. Anyway. So, speaking about the left and how desperate they're getting, do you remember a guy by the name of Douglas Mackey? Yeah, he put out in 2016, he put out a meme. He put out a meme, which essentially was a joke. Everybody knew it was a joke. I mean, seriously, how can you not live in America today and not know when Election Day actually is? Everybody knows it's on a Tuesday. It's always been on a Tuesday. It's just the way it is. It's always in the first part of November. May change dates, but it's always in November. And always on a Tuesday. And yet, Douglas Mackey went to jail for that meme, got tried and convicted for that meme by the DOJ. They prosecuted him for that meme. Well, apparently Jimmy Kimmel, and I don't even watch Jimmy Kimmel, but apparently Jimmy Kimmel, here in the Blaze, critics asked where the DOJ will give Jimmy Kimmel the Douglas Mackey treatment for election interference. What Kimmel did on his broadcast, which essentially was he was standing there and he said, let's see, Jimmy Kimmel Live, in his monologue, he said, you have to vote. If you can vote early, vote early. If you can't vote early, vote on time. If you want to vote for Trump, vote late. Vote very late. Do your voting on Thursday or maybe Friday. Well, guess what? That is exactly what the meme did. Was saying that, hey, and this was back in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, hey, if you're a Democrat voter wanting to vote for Hillary Clinton, vote on Wednesday or Thursday. It was a joke, just as much as this is a joke. But now the DOJ has set that standard. And so If they're going to say that that meme was a breaking of a crime, a breaking of a law, then this definitely should be. Because Biden's DOJ sent Douglas Mackey to prison for sharing the exact same joke. Yeah. So I wonder if Jimmy Kimmel's going to get a knock on his door sometime in the near future about this. Yeah. First of all, the left has destroyed joking, and now the left has made it to where, we're the elite. We're the elite. We get to do things that you can't. That's more than obvious as of now. All right. So, the economy. There's a couple of things popped today, or in the last couple of days. The first one, which was just announced this morning, and this one, I got to tell you, this one does not bode well for the Harris-Biden administration. Okay? This literally doesn't bode well. Here in the Daily Wire, the final jobs report before the election shows that only 12,000 jobs were added in October. Okay. So that's the initial report. 90%, possibly more, but 90% of the reports that have come out from this administration on the jobs and everything else have always been revised down. I wonder how far this one is going to get revised down. So apparently from the report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it noted a downward revision for both August and September, stating that it had overestimated growth by around 112,000 jobs. CNBC reported that 12,000 jobs added in October was the fewest since December of 2020. So here's the thing. Jobs have actually been declining, by the way, too. So the report stated that within professional and business services, employment in temporary help services declined by 49,000 in October. Temporary help services employment decreased by 577,000 since reaching a peak in March of 2022. Manufacturing employment decreased by 46,000 in October, reflecting a decline of 44,000 in transportation equipment manufacturing that was largely due to strike activity. Well, that strike is the Boeing strike that's going on, as well as maybe a couple other things that have been running around. But the Boeing strike, that doesn't account for everything. It accounts for maybe a large portion of it, but yeah, it doesn't account for everything. Now, the report itself indicated that the impact of the hurricanes and a Boeing strike contributed to the paltry job numbers. The southeast U.S. was hammered by Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. Sectors where employment ticked up included both healthcare and, surprise, surprise, government. We're running trillions of dollars in debt, and yet we seem to be adding jobs. How is that possible? Yeah. Anyway, the numbers were also down for August and September, noting the actual jobs added were much lower than first estimated. The report said the change in the total non-farm payroll employment for August was revised down by 81,000 from 159,000 down to 78,000. And the change for September was revised down by 31,000 from 254,000 to 223,000. They keep revising it down, folks. They keep revising it down. It just... So with those revisions, by the way, both in August and September combined is 112,000 lower than previously reported. They keep doing this. The government is not telling you the truth. They haven't been. That's exactly why people were questioning, rightfully so, the FBI crime statistics, which we find out were also falsified. That crime was actually up, not down. Now, the unemployment rate for October was 4.1, with an estimated 7 million being unemployed. These measures are higher than a year earlier, when the jobless rate was actually 3.8% and the number of unemployed people was 6.4 million, the Bureau noted. The Trump campaign, of course, really jumped on it. Trump campaign's national press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, said, "This jobs report is a catastrophe and definitely reveals how badly Kamala Harris has broke our economy. In a single month, Kamala's failed economic agenda would wipe out nearly 30,000 private sector jobs and nearly 50,000 manufacturing jobs. Working families are getting ripped off by the Harris-Biden economic agenda. Kamala broke the economy. President Trump will fix it." Well, yeah. But here's the thing. It's not just the impact of jobs that is at stake here. We also have the impact of other things that she would like to do. So if you are even still, if you are on the fence, okay, even if you are on the fence, there's another reason to abhor a Harris presidency. This from the Daily Economy. Amnesty plus Medicare for all, which are both things that she is wanting to do if she gets into office, would bankrupt America, it says. Smart immigration drives economic growth, but open doors would shred the social safety net. So the point here is that the Medicare, which is the federal health care program for seniors, is projected to be insolvent by 2036, threatening the millions of Americans who depend on it. If policymakers added millions of undocumented immigrants, read that as aliens, to this already fragile system, the cost would be catastrophic. Now, the author of this piece, his name's Vance, had a recent study that was published at the Thalos Foundation found that granting amnesty to the estimated 11 to 12.5 million illegal aliens, he calls them undocumented immigrants, but they're illegal aliens, he says, could add as much as 1.8 trillion to the current Medicare program over time. He says that's not a sustainable course for a system already teetering on the edge of financial collapse. So Medicare operates as a pay-as-you-go program. Basically what happens here is today's workers are funding for all of those who are dipping out of the program. It works. That kind of a scenario works when you have more people paying into the program than those that are taking it out. But as of right now, the number of workers is shrinking relative to the number of retirees. Medicare is simply not bringing in enough revenue to cover its costs, not to mention the fact, by the way, that our current rate of participation in the employment sector is less than 2/3. We're sitting at somewhere between 62 to 63% participation rate, when we're usually running at least 66 to almost 70% participation rate usually. Why is that happening? That I'm not really too sure, other than a bunch of people were just like, you know what? We're out of here. Okay. So anyway, Adding millions of newly legalized immigrants to the system, many of whom have not paid into Medicare through payroll taxes, would only worsen this situation. Yet Kamala Harris, it wants Medicare for all. In fact, she wants to end private insurance completely. That's what she said in the past. Now, the sweeping Medicare for all national run healthcare program proposal that she's talking about would impose a staggering $44 trillion price tag just over the next 10 years. This includes covering newly legalized immigrants, which could increase cost, adding nearly $2 trillion more to the ballooning program. This fiscal responsibility would push Medicare over the edge, requiring either deep cuts to benefits or steep tax increases to keep the program afloat. Milton Friedman, of course, is quoted as saying several decades ago, "You cannot simultaneously have free immigration and a welfare state." It's exactly true. So this whole idea, folks, of amnesty plus Medicare for all is a poor combination. It's going to make our government go bankrupt over time. And it absolutely will happen. Well, another piece of economic news for the Harris administration, the Biden administration, came in the form of core inflation. Here, according to Breitbart, core inflation rose more than expected in September. So inflation accelerated a little bit in September, bolstering the case against when the Federal Reserve did that aggressive rate cut. Now, they call it aggressive. It was a half a point, but they called it aggressive. And yet now the core PCE inflation, which excludes food and energy prices, rose by 0.3%, higher than the expected 0.2% increase. This is the largest increase in core prices since April. So compared with a year ago, consumer prices were up 2.1%, just slightly ahead of the Fed's 2% target. Core prices were up by 2.7%, matching the year-over-year increase recorded in August. Now, the Federal Reserve slashed its benchmark rate by a half of a percentage point last month, arguing that the threat of inflation was over. Yeah, it was over. And risks to the labor market were intensifying. Since then, however, economic data has suggested that the Fed was wrong about the direction of the economy. Now, also, too, keep in mind, I've been hearing that there is a possibility of 2 more rate cuts coming up, each potentially a 1/4 point. A couple of bankers have been saying that they are looking at a 1/4 point for November, and possibly another one. Can't remember exactly when, but sometime in the near future. So the Fed obviously seems to think that inflation is over, even though signs are indicating that it's not. We cannot get this administration out faster than what we have. Anyway, well, there's a certain state, by the way, that apparently is contributing to the fact that of our national job situation. That state is run by none other than Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Here in the Midwesterner, a fact check. Gretchen Whitmer falsely claims Michigan added 27,000 jobs this year. As of last month, Michigan actually lost 16,000 jobs this year. So WNEM in Saginaw ran what appears to be a press release from Whitmer's office touting the jobs' victories, including 13,000 additional construction jobs. Construction, per the release, remains strong as a sector. The news station reported there was over 40,000 new good-paying auto jobs, building cars, components, and batteries that were announced, which, by the way, Ford just gave up on its EV stuff, I'm hearing. Anyway, the data on the Jobs Whitmer release evidently comes from Michigan's Department of Technology Management and Budget, but the DTMB data and the BLS data paints a mixed picture of Michigan's trajectory. The DTMB shows seasonally adjusted employment sitting at 4,842,000 in January of 2024 and 4,826,000 in September. Well, math tells me that 4,842,000 versus 4,826,000. Which one do you think is higher on that? The number, the first number, which was in January of 2024, or the one that was released in September? Yeah. So also, too, the DTMB's data that shows seasonally adjusted unemployment is sitting at 202,000 in January, but went up to 229,000 in September. That's 27,000 more people who are unemployed basically now versus during the start of the year in Michigan. So, Michigan lenders, are you sure you want this lady in charge? Are you sure you want Democrats in charge? And this is just an indication of what Democrats do. They destroy. They don't help, they destroy. It's literally what they do. Well, we're almost there, folks. We're almost to the finish line. Things are looking nice. Things are looking good. I'm, my gut is feeling good, but you know, I can be wrong. Anybody can be wrong. Pollsters can all be wrong. But we're getting there. We're almost there, folks. We're almost to the finish line, even though it's taking us forever to get there. Hopefully, if everything goes right, by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, we will have a new president who will be our choice. All right, folks, that is it for me this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. Sign in, and once you are signed in, search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to be notified every time that I go live. Also, too, before you take off, make sure you hit all of those thumbs up, likes, whatever buttons that are all across my platforms. I'm sorry about the technical issues in the beginning, but make sure you cover, Facebook, YouTube, X, and, of course, Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is Saturday, so that means it's an hour later, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening. We will see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.